Good morning. My name is Valerie Mullin. I'm running for the district which represents Bristol, Lincoln, Starksboro, and Moncton. While door-to-door campaigning, I'm hearing over and over, Vermonters are finding it harder and harder to make ends meet. At one time, I was a divorced mom of two young boys working at a third shift factory to avoid poverty and stay off government assistance. I have lived their struggles, so I understand more than I wish I did. Later, I owned a retail chain in Vermont and New York, which I closed to focus on my family with the birth of my youngest son, and now I have a work-from-home business. I have had a son leave Vermont to find a job in his field. One with his college education has two part-time jobs, and my youngest I'm worried for his future. Currently, Vermont's budget strategy is to raise more taxes, but we can't tax our way out of this. We've had 5 straight months of tax revenue misses with no end in sight. Vermont's unemployment numbers appear low, but these numbers are at the expense of real job loss that just last year 3,350 fewer workers and the tax revenues these jobs would have brought to our state. I believe that in 2014, this is critical to the future of Vermont because there are two very different paths before us. Single-payer, state-run healthcare is a sweeping overhaul of the very foundation of our healthcare delivery system, which was passed by our legislature and signed into law by Governor Shumlin without identifying a funding source to pay for it. I find that incomprehensible and irresponsible. When an average Vermonter tries to buy a house, they don't go out and say, "That's the house I want, close the deal," and then try to figure out how to pay for it. We say, "This is how much money we have, this is how best we can spend it," and I feel that should apply with healthcare. Estimates put the cost of single payer at $2.2 billion, which would mean a tripling of our general fund budget, therefore a tripling of the taxes which support the general fund, which will double the size of Vermont government. You're already seeing, they're already saying that you'll see huge payroll tax increases and where the money will be taken from you and your employer. The more you work, the more taken from you. New Hampshire was able to get their healthcare website up and running well for $8 million. With the oversight of our healthcare committee, we spent $80 million. And just to shut it down, this crippled data vulnerable site to start again with another company, and who knows how much that'll end up costing us. I do believe that the problems confronting us in this state to be larger than political parties. We need to work together to fix this mess. It'll take compromise, but I will not compromise on the principles that this great state was built on: freedom and unity. And these are great words of guidance. Vermonters can get back to a way of life that is less governed and take more responsibility for our success. Lastly, I'm a lifelong Vermonter. I have a wealth of life experiences that enabled me to understand government politics and how it affects people from all across the social and economic spectrum. I'm a graduate of Mount Abraham Union High School in Bristol. I've been a single mom, a factory worker, and finally a successful businesswoman. I want to be part of the revitalization of a business-friendly Vermont economy. As an employer, I understand the relationship between economic prosperity and a sound tax policy. I also understand how irresponsible spending and taxation affects everyday person who is just trying to get by. This point was driven home to me in a recently poignant conversation I had while campaigning door to door. I introduced myself. I was invited into a home of an elderly woman who at that very minute was filling out paperwork to borrow against her life insurance policy in order to pay her property tax bill. That woman told me she had hoped to have enough insurance money to pay for her burial, but now had to use it to pay her taxes. "What am I going to do next year?" she asked. They spent money they didn't have, and now they're asking us to pay it back. And now, she said, pointing to her paperwork, they have it all. These are the stories that keep me going day to day, door to door, letting people know of Addison 4 that they have a voice with their vote in November. I didn't wake up one day and think this would be a great way to spend my time. I woke up one day and said, if I don't do this and do my very best to help Vermont, then I wouldn't be living the values I'm trying to teach my sons. And when you see something wrong, do something about it. And with the votes of the people of my 4 towns, I will champion their voice in Montpelier.